Welcome to DigitalSports.com, the nation's leading website that combines school sports with journalism. Digital Sports provides a forum for students and their school communities to get more involved with their sports programs by writing and reporting about them. This helps to improve student writing skills and builds a sense of community surrounding the school's athletics. Digital Sports is a free online website that empowers schools to keep athletes, parents, and the community in the know. It allows you to post schedules and scores, publish school and athletic news, promote student recognition, engage school groups such as journalism, yearbook, and AV clubs, all in one central location. At Digital Sports, you can be an athlete, a student journalist, a photographer, or just someone who loves sports, just like we do. Digital Sports prides itself on providing educational value as well. Our site is leveraged as a web-based student journalism portfolio for writing, photography, and video. The cross-curricular value is exponential, and it encourages various school departments to work together to improve a student's chances for success. Digital Sports unifies communities and promotes school spirit. Every high school in the country already has a Digital Sports page where administrators, athletic directors, students, family, and friends can access to share that spirit. At Digital Sports, it's your school, your teams, and your news. It's time for you to grab the spotlight, unleash your talents, and show your school spirit.
Okay, we thank everybody for joining us in the webinar today. This is Dave O'Neill, Product Manager of LeagueMinder. I'm here with my colleague, Chris Decker, the Marketing Specialist for Digital Sports. Today's webinar is going to be focusing on getting the most out of your digital sports site for your school and for your teams. We're going to go through a pretty aggressive agenda of we'll review how to get into digital sports, how to navigate your dashboard, how to customize your school and team sites, adding information to the site from LeagueMinder. We're not talking about schedules, but literally information and things besides athletics. How to use digital sports to keep your community informed and the best practices on using each of the features to do that. We'll talk to you about student reporters, the advantages, and show you some examples of our best student reporters from last year and how you can get student reporters and other reporters working at your school. And then last will be a question and answer session. In regards to the question and answer session, the way that you can participate in that is on your screen. You should have a little gray box for GoToMeeting, and in there you should see a place for questions and a place for chat. Okay, you can't speak to us directly. You can only hear what we're saying. But if you have a question or a comment, please use either the question section or the chat section, and Chris or I will get an answer back to you if it's specific to you. If it's something we think pertains to the entire audience, when we get to the question and answer section, we will address those for the entire audience. And we won't end the webinar until all the questions are answered. So again, use your GoToMeeting box that you should see on your screen to send us questions or to give us comments. In terms of that, please do that during the webinar. Please don't wait to the end. That way, as we see them come in, we can kind of organize. And while one of us is talking, the other one can type responses back, or we can group the questions together in an organized way, so that way we can make the ending of the webinar as efficient as possible. Okay, so that's essentially what we're going to go through today. Again, I welcome all of you for attending, and we're going to go ahead and I'll just quickly review here, just a reminder on getting into your digital sports dashboard. Again, to get into digital sports from any page on digital sports, you can use the login here. It's always on the top right-hand corner, so whether you're on our DS National homepage or your school page or a team page, it should be displayed there. Okay? When you click that, you will get this screen. Again, as an athletic director or someone who works in the athletic office, if you have permissions to LeagueMinder, your same permissions will get you into digital sports. And then from within the back end of your digital sports website, you can easily navigate back and forth between the two, Digital Sports and LeagueMinder. This webinar today is really going to focus on digital sports and the website itself that your public goes to, and how to really use that to increase the efficiency of your communication and hopefully eliminate or reduce the amount of phone calls coming into your office. Okay, so log in through Digital Sports. Okay, you'll click login here, and then what should happen is you should then be brought to whatever school page you are associated to, your school site. The difference being up at the top, you will see this gray bar will now appear instead of it being blank. And then in that gray bar, you should see your username over on the left-hand side. And by pointing at your username, you'll get a menu to click on Dashboard. Okay, the dashboard is basically your menu for your digital sports website. It's where you can manage the site. Okay, these are the things that need to be done on the site that are independent of what's being integrated from LeagueMinder. Right, so this is the Digital Sports Dashboard, and at this point I'm going to turn it over to my colleague Chris Decker. He'll take you through the dashboard and some of the features that you can utilize.
All right, thank you, Dave, and welcome to the webinar, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you guys on board. So I'm just going to jump right into the DS navigating the dashboard, and basically what you're looking at right now is your main hub for manipulating anything that you see on the public site, publishing posts or uploading media, so on and so forth. That's basically the dashboard view that you see here, and you're going to be seeing this a lot whenever you want to make any changes to your digital sports public site. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to go over with you guys is how to change the URL that's located at the top of the page. Okay, so you see right up here it says 162.911.digitalsports.com. So basically what happens is whenever a school page is created, it's given a generic numeric ID for the page, okay? And what we one of the features that we've incorporated into the website is actually being able to change that URL to something that's more prominent and more memorable, okay? So if you wanted to change it to like a school mascot name or just the name of your high school, you can literally just type that in the URL, and that would be, like I said before, it would be something that's more memorable, something that you can share with your community. So basically the way you would do that is you're in your dashboard, you click on the settings menu on the left-hand side. Okay, below that there's a general tab that you'd click. Okay, and as I mentioned before, this is your default numeric ID in the URL. Okay, so when you're in your settings, in your general menu, you scroll down to the bottom where it says Site Alias, okay, and you can basically put anything that you want in here. Like I said before, you can do your mascot, the name of your school, anything that you want, you can put in that field, okay. So for purposes of this example, we put in our training website, okay. So and we named it webtraining.digitalsports.com. So you basically just type in web training right in that field, okay. Hit Save Changes. Okay, so now you notice that once you hit Save Changes, now that numeric ID has been changed to webtraining.digitalsports.com. Okay. All right. The next thing that you can do to customize your site is change the school colors. Okay. So a lot of what our users like to do is kind of emulate the school colors that they currently have at their school, whatever their colors are for their sports teams. You can basically do the same thing with your digital sports page to make it look more like your school. Okay. So for this example, again, we used our web trainer school. Okay. The way you would change your colors is you're in your dashboard again. You click on the Appearance menu, and then below that there is a sub-menu that says Custom Design and Colors. Okay, and then that'll bring up what you see on the right side of the page here, or the middle of the page here. Okay, your background image color, and then below that your pod header color. Okay, so what we did for our training school is we chose a Kelly green for the background. Okay, and then for the pod header color, also known as widgets, we chose a purplish color. Okay, so when you have all the colors that you prefer, you click Update Options. Okay, and you'll see here is the before screenshot of the school that we did. You'll notice that the background color is blue. It's a generic blue. Okay, and then the same thing with the pod header color. Just a little background information here. The pod is also known as a widget. So it's basically any of the boxes that you see on the public side. Okay, those are known as pods or widgets. Okay, so you see that both colors are blue. That was before, and now here's the after. You'll notice now it went from blue to green, which is what we just chose. Okay, and then the pod header color is now a purplish color, which is what we just did. Okay, so that's how you change colors for a school page. Okay, the next thing we're going to show you is how to upload a school banner. Okay, so this is more customization options for you. Okay, so a lot of our users also like to, have like graphic design contests for their students, or if someone is in an art class and there's an extra credit assignment, basically the art teacher or whoever is, whoever wants that banner uploaded to the site, they can basically just tell whoever is creating the image to follow these specs, okay, 660 by 80, 1 megabyte maximum size, and then in these preferable formats. Okay, once they create that, as I said, sometimes we have, kids that are doing it for extra credit, or, it's, as I said before, graphic design. A lot of kids like to do this. So we have athletic directors going to their, to their faculty and basically asking, hey, do you guys, you want your kids to do this? So we have some people doing that sometimes, and instead of having the generic digital sports banner, which you see right here, it's diagonal white and red bars. It's very, very generic. You can change that to whatever you see fit. You can put a high school mascot logo in here. You can put your school colors in here with the title. I mean, you can really do anything you want. Okay, so if you have that image already and you want to change it from the default banner, you are in your dashboard again. You click on Appearance, click on Banner Upload, okay, and then you want to click the Choose File button. Okay, so when you click that, it'll take you to the basic browse the local hard drive window. Okay, so you'll find wherever you save that image. Okay, so for example, we made a training banner image. Okay, you'll notice that it's right there. It's selected. Then you want to click on Open. Okay, so then you'll see also here that now it's ready to be updated. Okay, so that the banner that you just opened is right there. You want to click Update Options. Okay, and then now you'll see that the banner has now been updated. Okay, so now this goes out to your public page. Okay, so this is the before banner. Okay, it's the generic digital sports banner, and then here's the after. We just made this. Okay, so as you can already see, the URL at the top has been changed. The banner has been customized, and the school colors have been customized. Okay, so now it's really starting to look like your school page. It's showing that school spirit right there. Okay. Next thing I'm going to go on to is widgets. As I mentioned, also known as pods. You have the ability to go in and move widgets around, manipulate widgets, whether it's a text or an HTML. You can basically have a lot of wiggle room here as far as widgets go. Basically, the way you would do that is you would go into your dashboard again. If you're noticing the theme here, we're in our dashboard a lot. So basically how you go into widgets is you click on the appearance menu, and under that the submenu of widgets. Okay, so now it'll bring you to the screen where it shows you all your available widgets. For this example, we're going to use the chalkboard widget. Okay, the chalkboard widget is something that it's best utilized when trying to let your community know about breaking news or a sports dinner occurring that night. That's basically the best feature regarding that kind of thing, and a lot of our users use it for that. Okay, so what we're going to do for this specific example with the chalkboard widget is we're going to move it. Okay, we're going to move it above the event widget. As you can see here, it's already been moved. Okay, so if you see this little cursor here, it looks like a little cross with kind of arrows at the edge of each cross. When you see that little icon, that means you can drag it anywhere you want. Okay, so we moved it above the event widget that's on the public side. So you'll notice here, this is the before. It basically just has the upcoming events. Okay, so we moved it above the events, and now here's the after. Now the chalkboard, which was below the upcoming events, is now above it. Okay, and you can really move this anywhere you want. You can move it to the left above the carousel that you see there. You can move the carousel if you want. I mean, you really can move a majority of the widgets here. Any way that you see fit, you can do it. Okay? All right, and then from here, we're going to kind of continue the chalkboard messaging in different ways that you can do that. And I'm going to pass it over to Dave, who's going to tell you some other options that you have with that. Okay.
Okay. Once you're in LeagueMinder, like Chris said, again, this is one of the elements in LeagueMinder that really is included in the integration to digital sports. So in your menu on the left-hand side, there's a place for school chalkboard, and this is what will come up on your screen. In the school chalkboard, this is what it'll put a message out onto the digital sports site, and then you can manage it from here. What you would click on here is it said add new post, and this is specifically a chalkboard post. This is different than a different kind of post we'll talk about later. Okay, it'll simply ask you to add a title and add article of text. Okay, so you just put the information in here you want. So you put in something like fall game tickets are on sale, and here's how you go get them. Right. When you're done with that, you click add post at the bottom, and you can see here this kind of gives you a confirmation that it's been created and it's been added to the website. You'll have options on the right to edit and delete the post if you want to, because at some point this is going to become out of date, like when the fall season ends, and you'll want to be able to take it down off your site easily. Okay, so we'll have that information here. Okay, so and then here on the digital sports site, you can see the message that you put out. So that's where it integrates to. So and this is that widget that Chris had dragged to make it more prominent on the site. Additionally, in your actual dashboard, there is a section for chalkboard. Okay, this chalkboard connects to the school site. Okay, here, so it's under your dashboard. Same concept. Provide a title, provide text of a message, and post chalkboard message. So you use the same process. Put your information in. This could be different than what you had in LeagueMinder. Okay, so here we have an announcement about homecoming court nominations. Post a chalkboard. Now you'll see you get a message that it's there, but there's no management tools. You'll see that there's no button to edit this. There's no button to delete this. You can't do anything with it. This not only has been pushed out to the public web page, but it's also been inserted into your management section within LeagueMinder. So this is kind of different than a lot of things. This is the one thing where it actually something moves from digital sports into LeagueMinder. Mostly what we talk about is pushing things from LeagueMinder out to digital sports. This is the one piece that kind of works in the opposite direction. Okay, so you manage it from your LeagueMinder account. From your LeagueMinder account, you'll also be able to see if somebody else publicly on the website added something to this. But so you have access to manage these messages at all times. All right. So again, so here's that information that's been pushed in. And then on the public website, I now have two messages, one that came from LeagueMinder and one that came from the digital sports dashboard. Okay. Okay, the other thing important to note in LeagueMinder is that, again, as you guys have probably done a lot of work with your athletics, you can also include clubs and activities. And this is a great way to get the rest of your school involved in talking about what can be done. Okay. So from just like you were adding a sport, you go to administration, you go to your sports information, and you're going to add a sport. The entry to get an activity on your site is slightly different though. So here I'm trying to add my high school student council. Okay, I do that by identifying the season as other. Other is what identifies to the digital sports site that you're adding an activity instead of a sport. Okay, and then I have to still give it a gender. So boys and girls, there's options in here for like co-ed, mixed, something like that. Okay. So once you add that sport, you'll see it in two places. You'll have it in your sports list, just like a sport, and it'll also be in your sports schedule menu. So now you can go to the student council team management page where you can see, you can create a schedule for student council of when their meetings are and things like that, and use all your LeagueMinder function like you normally would. But a key step here is you have to click this blue box, and that's what will push out the team page, the activity page for student council, and create that digital sports website. Once you have the digital sports website, you now have a chalkboard you can manage. So we already showed you the functionality of the school chalkboard. Well, there's also an independent team chalkboard. So if I just wanted to post something to this student council site, I could do that through the team chalkboard as opposed to the school chalkboard. We'll show some examples of that later on, and hopefully it'll get a little more clear. Okay. So here we've created the page. We've pushed it out to the site. So now in my menu, in addition to fall, winter, and spring, because I used other, I now have activities, and I can see my student council. in my navigation menu on my school site. That also created a dashboard in my section of My Sites. Okay, My Sites are your school and all your teams. So what happens in digital sports is you actually have a separate website for your school and for every single team that you have in LeagueMinder. A team being a unique season, gender, and sport or activity in the account. Okay, so now I can, as the athletic director, access the dashboard of my student council site by going here. So now I have my boys and girls student council dashboard. Notice this looks no different than the dashboard I had before, except for the header at the top. That is the way you would know that there's something, that you're in a different dashboard. So you know which dashboard you're using by the title at the top. Okay, I can use all the same features and functions that Chris just showed about the colors and the URL. I can do all of that and have it be unique to this activity site. So instead of, I have now customized. I used all the same features. I changed the colors. I used gray and green instead of green and purple. I dragged the widget to a different location. I put it above the carousel display instead of the events, so it was more prominent. Okay, I added a banner. I created a unique banner for student council, so it wasn't just a duplicate of my school banner. So it made it more prominent that this is the student council page. I changed the URL, so it included student council in the title. Okay, so you can see that with all these updates, you can have these unique messages, and you can see that that unique chalkboard message is there. Okay, so again, you have all this functionality. So we're going to continue to work on this student council activity site, but again, the same functionality exists for the school. So you have functionality at the school and for every single team, and we'll talk more about how to manage getting all this work done a little bit later in the webinar, but we're going to continue to show you what kinds of things you can do on the site. So I'm going to give it back to Chris.
Okay. So what Dave showed you was obviously very beneficial, and I'm going to kind of keep that going with a lot of other things that you can do with the site. So a very popular feature is being able to basically snap photos at the big game and then post them to your digital sports page. A lot of parents that have kids at games, they want to see that their kids are doing well. They want to see pictures of them. They want to see news articles of them and so on and so forth. And digital sports gives you the ability to do all that and more. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is basically show you guys how to add media like photos and videos. Okay, so again, you're back in your dashboard. You want to click on the media menu. And then below that, the submenu that says Add New. Okay, so then it's going to take you to a screen where it's going to allow you to upload new media. Okay, so you notice that at the top there are certain file types that are allowed. There are a lot here. So the basic file formats that most people use are JPEGs and PNGs. So I don't think that would ever be a problem. So, but we do have a lot of different formats that you can use. The maximum file size is 500 megabytes. I don't think anybody's going to be taking a picture that's more than that. I mean, I think the average picture averages a few megabytes. So those you just got to make sure you fall within those specs. But basically, to upload a file that a picture that you've saved to your hard drive, you want to click Select Files. Okay, it's very similar to what we did with the banner. Okay, so you click that. Okay, it's going to open up the Browse Your Local Hard Drive window. Okay, so then you find whatever pictures that you saved, you highlight them. We selected about 5 here. Okay, for the student council page. And then once you're happy with the selection, you click Open. Okay, and then you'll notice here at the bottom, these are the 5 pictures that we've just uploaded. Okay, so you'll see that they're in progress. You'll see a word that says crunching. You see it right here. Okay, that typically means that it's uploaded. It's currently in the process of uploading. Okay, when it's all finished, you won't see any of the percentages or the word crunching. You'll see everything just look like that. Everything's ready to go. Okay, so right now those 5 images are now live on your website. Okay, so you'll notice that right here, right in the carousel. Okay, these are the images that you just put in there. Okay, and the cool thing about this is, anybody that's coming to the site gets to see these pictures right off the bat. Okay, so if there's a picture of one of the athletes, in a football game, the first thing they're going to want to do is click the image because they might know who it is, or there might be an article about the athlete. So that's one of the benefits that you have right there, right when people come to the site. Okay. The next thing is creating a news story or a post, okay? And as I mentioned before, this could be anything from a game recap to an athlete profile. We have a lot of people writing posts about their schools, and it's something, again, that keeps the community informed on everything that's going on. And again, it just doesn't have to be about sports. It could be about, for this example, student council members, okay? So the way you'd want to write a post, and it's just like any other blog post. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with blogging or how that works, but working off the WordPress platform, which is what we do here for Digital Sports, it basically gives that same feel. Okay, so the way you'd create a new post is you'd click on the post menu on the left, click on Add New. Okay, so then it'll give you an option here to enter the title of the article that you want to write, and then below that you can write your article. Okay, so we populated this article with something that's relevant to student council. Okay, you'll notice here that this is the body of the message. Okay, so we put some things in there, and you could actually add images if you wanted to. So if you have a group of students in the student council group that you have a picture of, you can add that image to this article. Okay, so you'll notice right where the arrow is pointing that is the upload image button. Okay, so you might be confused. It doesn't tell you what those are, but if you were actually to go to the dashboard and hover over these icons, it would give you a preview of what they are. Okay, so the first one is an image, the second one is video, third one's music, the fourth one is more image options, and the fifth one is a form that you can create. Okay, but for this example, we're going to stick with the first one, which is uploading an image. Okay. So when you browse your local hard drive and you go through that whole process again, okay, and you want to upload the image, it will tell you to add an image. This will be the image that you chose, okay, and you'll notice that you can do a lot of things with the image, okay. You can change its size and so on and so forth, okay. When everything is set to what you want it to, okay, you click Insert into Post, okay. Basically, clicking on that button will now insert it into the post, as you see here. Okay, so that image is now above the text that you just created. So not only do you have words in your post, you have an image to go along with it. Okay, that makes people want to stay longer and read the article. Okay, so then when you're done and everything looks good, you want to click the Publish button on the right-hand side. Okay, and once you click Publish, that will automatically go out to the Boys and Girls Student Council page, and will also roll up to the school page. Okay, and then the way you'll know is that when you hit publish, it'll take you back to the dashboard, and you'll see that you have one post. Okay, and this will continue to increase as you do new posts. Okay. Now the next thing is creating a page. Okay, the difference between pages and posts are basically when you create a post, it will get pushed down whenever you create a new post. Okay, so if you have 3 news stories, okay, and you create 3 more, the 3 below you are going to be getting pushed out of the featured stories pod. Okay, so if there's any information that you want people to know that's always going to be there, the page option is usually the best one. Usually, what people do with pages is they list staff members, or they list directions to facilities, or they put medical information or physical forms. That's what pages are best utilized for. So anyone coming to the site, if they're looking for a form or directions, those will always be there. They'll be static. Okay. So the way you create pages is basically by going to your dashboard again, clicking on the Pages menu, click on Add New. Okay, and this looks very similar to adding a new post, except this is just adding a new page. You put your title in there, and then you put whatever you wanted right below that. Okay. So we populated this again for you. The title is just important information. This is going to go out to our student council page. Okay, there's just some information below. Okay, whenever you have all the words in there that you want to click the Publish button again. Okay, and then if you go out to your student council page, you notice now that page is showing up as a box right toward the top of your site. Okay, so any of those boxes that you see up there right at the top of your digital sports team and school sites, those are known as pages. Okay, you can create as many of those as you want. You can create them and have drop downs. There's a lot of possibilities with it. Okay. Okay, and then just kind of bring everything together here. The story that we just created, you'll see that that's already out here, and then the chalkboard message that Dave was referring to is also out here. Okay, so you have everything out here right now. It's all one central hub for information. Okay, and then just referring to my other comment about how it rolled up to the school page, you'll notice now that this is at the training school page, not the student council page. But you'll see that the featured stories from the student council page has now rolled up to the school page. Okay, same thing with the photos. Okay, so the benefit here is that anyone that's coming to the school page that wants to know what's going on throughout all of your sports, they can get all of the news right on the main school page. And if they wanted to go specifically to a team page, they could simply just do that by hovering over the seasonal sports hero activities. Okay, so you see it's a pretty cool feature how it rolls up to the school page. Okay. I'm just going to go into now some current examples, some examples from current users about how they are utilizing the page feature and some other things. You'll notice here, Radnor High School in Pennsylvania, they obviously created a bunch of pages. Okay, so they have things like physical forms and links and field locations, so on and so forth. They've utilized that feature very well. Okay, another example here, we have Shelby County. In Memphis, they used a page to create a list of staff members, okay, and within that they actually can link out to their email addresses. So anyone that's coming to the site and is asking, oh, I need to speak to the athletic manager, I don't know how to get in touch with him, well, there it is right there, okay, Dr. Perry, athletic manager, with his email address. Okay, you can create as much as you want with this. Okay. And then another example, going back to Radnor, is they put up a physical form. If you have students or parents that need to come to the site and download a form to fill out and then mail back to the athletic director or the head trainers, okay, you can put the form in there. So this is an example of a PDF that Radnor put onto their website. Okay, so I can come to this site, I can download this form, fill it out, print it out, and then mail it in. Okay, and you can do that for any form that you want. Okay, and then just kind of coming full circle here, this is our national page. You'll notice that I mentioned before that when you create a post on a page, it rolls up to the school page, but that also rolls up to our national page. Okay, so this kind of gives you guys national recognition as well. So if there's an athlete, if there is an athlete profile that someone wrote about, someone can actually come across our national page and see that they've been doing well. They can get in touch with them and so on and so forth. So that possibility always exists. It's a really cool feature, and you get some national recognition in the process. Okay, I'm going to switch it over to Dave right now. He's going to kind of go over some school community involvement options for you guys.
Okay, so basically what Chris did today was go through a whole lot of things that can be done on the website, and you have now, some of you may be aware that you have all these team websites that you didn't realize you had access to before. Again, the purpose of digital sports is not to create extra work for your athletic office, but for you and the athletic office to be able to coordinate and manage and get the correct people involved to do this. So the best thing is to get these additional people involved. So one, obviously, coaches. Again, if you don't want your coaches to log into LeagueMinder, that's fine. They don't have to. You can set them up as users of LeagueMinder if you want, and then they will have that access to digital sports. But if you just want them to have access to their individual team sites, just, again, have them contact us or let us know who they are, and we'll contact them, and we'll set them up with the administrative permissions of just their team site. Same thing goes for any booster club or parent supporters. So if you have those really great parent supporters out there, we have examples around the country where it's a parent or a booster club member who is doing the website management, so it doesn't become an additional task for the athletic office. Again, in addition to that, the other resources you have to your faculty and your staff. Obviously, if they're connected to a school club that you're going to include into the program, you'd want to give them access like a coach to manage their individual site. But there may be faculty or staff members who just attend every single event that goes on, and they do document it, and they would have the information to write the story, have the photo, or be interested in managing the customization and updating of all or one of these team school sites. Okay, so those are the people we're looking for. Again, you probably have clubs in your school with a focus on media, so whether that's a sports media, a photography, a videography club, newspaper, yearbook, anything like that, or if you have any writing clubs who are just looking for different ways to use writing to do different things. Again, Digital Sports is another outlet for that. And obviously any club that one of their tenets or one of their focuses of their club is to promote school spirit. Obviously, they can use Digital Sports to do that. Again, they just need to contact us, whether it's that staff member, that coach, or that advisor of that club. Have them get a hold of us, and we can work with them to create a setup and a process that's going to make it effective for what they're trying to achieve. Okay, so again, we'll talk to them about setup. We can talk to you or these people in your school about running your own internal school contests. Again, you can have internal school photography contests, and you can do writing contests, and you can either do this directly on the site, or there's other tools you can use on the site to route that information to someone to preview, vote, and do all that kind of thing, and then the winner is the one that gets posted. So we can coordinate those kinds of things and help you get those things off the ground. Incorporate sports reporting and writing into your class assignments. We will happily work with any teacher, any subject. If they have an idea that they think they can leverage sports to increase their curriculum or bring an interest to their curriculum that they haven't been able to get in another way, we have educational experts here through our Vantage Learning to help develop and coordinate with those teachers on how to bring those things in, particularly in this aspect of writing. We have writing prompts available connected to athletics, so if an English teacher wanted to do a writing assignment connected to the athletic events going on at the school, we could give them prompts that the students could follow, and writing guides and style guides to help with that writing. Okay? And again, all of this is designed to allow the biggest fans in your school, whoever they are, coach, parent, faculty member, or student, that big fan to become your best reporter. One of the greatest things about digital sports is that it always will come from the perspective of your school. One of the things that we here were most excited about recently is we actually had, from one badminton event, we got 2 stories from 2 schools, totally different perspectives. You had the one story from the school that won, celebrating how great it was to win, and you had the other story from the other school, even though they lost, wrote a great story about 2 particular athletes who won their matches and how great that was for them. So, and that's the point. You get a site that has media on it, but it's media coming from your community, from your community's perspective. Okay? And again, the big advantage is for the students. Okay? The big advantage we see in terms of getting the students involved in journalism, one, they know what's happening more than anybody else. They're at the events, and they're not the athletes, it's the other kids. It's their friends, it's the fans, it's what these kids do. They know what's going on. They know what the interesting stories are that people would want to read about. Okay? The reality is today, unlike 20 or 30 years ago, the reality of sports media as a career opportunity is true. With the advent of ESPN and Fox Sports and CBS Sports and all the local media sports outlets, getting involved in sports media as a profession is a reality for students today that was not present not that long ago. Digital sports gives them an opportunity to start getting practice at doing this and making that dream of being on ESPN, they're getting one step closer to that reality. A student reporter will, again, they're always going to portray it in the positive light of your school. Again, and studies have shown, the fact is the more kids can write, the better they're going to learn. Engaging students in writing will increase their ability to learn in every academic area because writing engages the brain in a multifaceted way that really inspires learning. And student journalists that get involved in this, the more they write, it'll allow them to build these web-based portfolios of writing, photography, and media so that if they are looking to pursue that career opportunity, they'll have a portfolio ready to go where they can provide a link on a college scholarship or college or scholarship application that they can share. So instead of saying, here's one example of my writing, here's an example, plus here's a link to everything else I've done. Look what I've done on my school site to promote school spirit and my skills in terms of sports media. Okay? So there are some key advantages for your students in your school who are really looking to portray and pursue this new career opportunity that exists in the world today. Okay? I'm going to give this back to Chris. These are some of the students that took full advantage of that opportunity last year and really utilized digital sports and the ability to portray themselves as student journalists.
And, this is a really good segue into, what Dave mentioned before about how, some of the biggest fans become the school's best reporters. And these examples epitomize that, that statement. We had a contest last year, a writing contest, where, we had students that, wanted to showcase their talents with writing and sports reporting and going to the game and taking photos and so on and so forth. And we got some really good students involved. And a couple of them here, Bryson Schmidt, she's out in North Carolina. She did all that. Okay, she went out and she reported on the games, as you can see here. She posted some articles about her high school. And as Dave mentioned, it's win or lose. These students always did it in a very positive light. And you know what? That's what separates us from a lot of other media sites, is that we have the biggest fans that are writing these stories. They're not reporters that don't really know much about the school. They're just doing it because they're getting paid to do it, or they're writing for a bigger newspaper. These kids and the coaches that also write about it, they know what's going on, and they're always going to be writing about it in a positive way. Okay. Another example here, we have Tommy from Ohio. He's got a nice little bio here. Okay, and then even looking at his thumbnail image on the left, he's clearly passionate about what he does. He likes to go out to games and film things. I mean, he's got a video camera. Looks like a pretty professional video camera there, and that's what he did all last year, and even this year he's continuing to do that for digital sports, even though he's already graduated. Okay. And then here's just some examples of some of the things he wrote as well. He's put some pictures in there and everything. Okay, and then our another example, we have Nick, who obviously looks very well polished. He's from Minnesota, and he's a very, very passionate individual with his journalism and with his photography. Okay, he actually has his own photography page. But the cool thing about him that we realized is that he's actually been credentialed for professional stadiums and arenas in the Minnesota area. So we thought that was really cool, and he's obviously got a lot of potential. But these kids are at every school. Okay, these aren't this isn't just three examples of three kids that we picked out that are awesome at what they do. They are, but you guys have these kids at your school. We have kids like that at schools next to us. You know what I mean? Everyone has them. Okay, and here's just more examples of some of his posts. And then look, he's taken a bunch of pictures as well. Okay, so this is his little profile. This is his web-based, student journalism portfolio. He could send this to a college. They could look at this and they could be like, wow, he's written articles. He's taken pictures. He's taken video. All this stuff is all in one place. So Nick was a really, really good student with that. And again, they're at every school. Okay, here's an example of one of his posts. This looks like an actual news article.
Better than most news articles.
Yeah, it looks better than a lot of the stuff that you read. I mean, he's tagged the articles, so there's obviously some IT knowledge there. He's linked to other articles. He's obviously taken some pictures.
His spelling is flawless.
The spelling is flawless, right? He's very good at grammar. So just an example, and every student can do this, and we encourage it, and you guys should encourage it, because there are kids that want to do this stuff. There really are. Okay, and the more kids that do this, the more opportunities for them and for their school to recognize it. And we kind of came up with this program called the Digital Sports Spirit Awards, where we're taking kids like Nick and Tommy and Bryson and coaches and athletic directors who are participating on the site and writing articles and uploading images. This program it recognizes all that. Okay, and we had about 10 to 15 schools that won our award last year, where they get a badge on their site and they get contacted, and we basically give them a phone call and tell them that they've been doing a great job, and we're going to be focusing on that this year, and it just gives you the opportunity to write articles about your teams and your athletes and your coaches, share your photos and your videos, and to get everyone in your community involved, okay? So, that's something that you can definitely take advantage of, okay? So that concludes this this webinar. We're really happy that you guys came on board, and we hope that we've been helpful. And for Dave and myself, we're really happy that you came on board today.
All right. We do have a couple of questions that came in. If you have any yourself, please put them into the questions section now, so that way we can address them when we go through some of these others. One of the questions that came in was about, do we have a packet or a handout that can be given to people in the school? Happy to do that. We don't have a generic thing that we do. What we would like to do is have a specific conversation with you. So for those of you who asked, we will be following up with you individually to have that conversation to see exactly, one, who it is that you want to get a message to, what's your preferred way of getting it out, that kind of thing. So that way we can really meet the needs of what you're trying to achieve, whether that you want to direct something through all teachers or maybe just an English department, or are you trying to hand something directly to students or certain clubs. So we'll help. You let us know who you're trying to contact, and then we'll create a specific packaged messaging that we can give to them. All right. The other question that came in was about a future webinar. Somebody asked, could we set up another webinar like this but target it for coaches? I think that's a great idea. We kind of, we'll discuss that. Ideally, we'd like to make sure we hit a time frame when coaches are more available. I think mid-season wouldn't really work for that. So what I would like to do, we'll kind of get a time frame maybe between the fall and the winter season to do that, and we'll create a webinar around a combination of LeagueMinder and digital sports functionality specifically targeted around coaches and teams. So we can focus that on roster management and entering scores and statistics and tracking athletes, and then how those rosters and stats integrate on digital sports, and then again we'll probably review a lot of what you saw today, the pieces about customizing the site, a particular team site, and then the types of things that maybe a coach would want to post on there, maybe additional team histories and things like that. So we will make sure we get a big announcement out about that, making that available for coaches. And it'll be a combination of both, because some coaches will have access to LeagueMinder and some will only have access to digital sports, and every combination in between. So, we'll make sure that we get a communication to everybody about that. So,
yep. And we just got a question in that's asking if we record the webinar. We're actually recording it right now as we speak. So this will be available to you, and just kind of in addition to that, you'll have this webinar at your disposal. So if you want to use it when you're going to your site, obviously you'll have it for that. If there's anything else that you have questions about, if you actually want to see a live, demo, like a hand-holding kind of thing, with the digital sports public side, I'm always willing to set some time aside, and whether it's an hour or however long, I can help you go through your site and show you basically how to do things step by step. Obviously, we did cover a lot in this, so this webinar basically showed you mostly everything that you can do. But if you wanted a one-on-one, kind of webinar, I'd be more than willing to do that. You just let me know through email or phone, and we could set something up. But yes, the recorded webinar will be available.
I know we showed a lot of things and features with digital sports today, but there are a lot more. So one of the other webinars you can look forward to us releasing is probably digital sports website management, the advanced version, because there's other nice little, that widget menu, there's a lot of little widgets in there besides the default ones that we showed today that you could incorporate on your site. So we'll probably have a webinar around that as well at some point. And again, if you have any other ideas about other future webinars you'd like to see, please let us know, but that will be coming. Something else that we're looking to do at some point in the future is create a webinar where instead of it's us telling you about what we do, maybe a webinar where we invite some athletic directors from around the country to talk to each other and tell us what you guys do every day. So whether you guys want to have a national forum for a conversation about concussions or athlete management or athlete eligibility, or just, hey, here's how I use my site, I think I came up with something pretty cool. So again, any ideas, send them our way. We'll gladly incorporate them into a future webinar.
Yep.
Okay, thank you guys.
Yep, and any more questions, feel free to email us. We'll be here all day till 5:30. So thank you guys again for joining, and we'll talk to you soon.